Push now. This is our race. That was the radio message. But to Lewis Hamilton, it sounded more like scrambled code than a strategic call. He heard it, but didn't understand. Worse, when he turned to the data for clarity, all he found was silence. Monaco 2025. The most successful driver in F1 history wasn't fighting for a podium, not even for a real position battle. Yet Ferrari, out of nowhere, launched what seemed like an emotional trigger. Was it real, or just a hollow attempt at motivation? The kind that says, just go for it, without saying why. The issue? Hamilton isn't a rookie, and he doesn't fall for vague orders. He had just pulled off a clean, surgical overcut on Hajar and Alonso. Now P5, but far, very far from the leaders. Over 50 seconds behind Norris. Nowhere near Verstappen. So what exactly did "this is our race" mean? Against who? Something in that message was off. And maybe the answer lies in what didn't happen next. The silence when Hamilton asked for gaps to Norris, Leclerc, Verstappen, and Piastri. You're not answering the question. Spoken by Hamilton, but it sounded more like a warning to all of Maranello. Let's be brutally honest. "This is our race" was a lie, not just unclear, deceptive. Because by the time that message hit Hamilton's earpiece, his chances of influencing the front were mathematically gone. Ferrari knew it. Adami knew it. So why say it? Here's the timeline. Hamilton clears Alonso and Hajar with a precise overcut. He's in clean air, no traffic. The pit delta? Still 30 seconds behind Verstappen. No safety car, no threat from behind, no obvious strategy window to exploit. So what race were they calling him to push for? Unless it wasn't about overtaking, it was about obedience. A coded message to test the loyalty of Ferrari's new titan. Would he follow blindly, burn his tires for nothing, or question the order? He did question it. And what came next? Silence. Dodges, no straight answers, just a driver, mid-race, left guessing what the team wanted. A 7-time world champion treated like a simulator rookie. But here's the twist. Pushing then did cost him. Hamilton later revealed he chewed through tires for nothing, because there was no one to chase. The team knew that, and they let him waste performance anyway. So the real question becomes, was this incompetence or initiation? Ferrari has a history, and it's not one Hamilton can ignore. When the order "push now, this is our race" came in Monaco, it echoed more than just strategy confusion. It awakened old ghosts. Rubens Barrichello in Austria 2002, Sebastian Vettel with the infamous multi-map code, and Alonso hearing "Felipe is faster than you." The common thread? Obedience over clarity, politics over performance. In Monaco, Hamilton found himself in a vacuum. No real opponents, no overt strategy, just a vague radio call, and then silence. But silence in Ferrari often speaks louder than words. It tests hierarchy, it establishes control. It asks, will the new lion roar or submit? Hamilton's tone changed after the call. His questions grew sharper, his patience thinner. The message from Adami, the same engineer who once coordinated victories for Vettel, wasn't just unclear. It was symbolic. A test. Because in Maranello, clarity often comes second to control. When Hamilton asked about the gaps to Norris, Leclerc, Verstappen, Piastri, he wasn't asking for numbers. He was asking where he stood. And the lack of response, that said everything. You're not answering the question. Hamilton's voice cut through the white noise. It wasn't frustration, it was realization. The silence from Riccardo Adami wasn't an accident, it was orchestration. When a driver asks for a gap, especially someone like Hamilton, it's not just curiosity, it's tactical, strategic, contextual. And yet, Adami dodged it. No delta, no split, just vague replies. Why? Because clarity empowers. And in Ferrari's current hierarchy, power must be earned or taken. Leclerc was leading this race of narratives. Home hero, media darling, inside favorite. Any confirmation that Hamilton was 30+ seconds behind would just reinforce a painful truth. He wasn't in the fight. So instead of truth, Adami offered ambiguity, An old Ferrari trick. Give the driver just enough to keep pushing, but not enough to question the bigger picture. In that moment, Hamilton wasn't just managing tires, he was managing doubt. His own and the team's. The silence was Ferrari's way of saying, "You're not in control yet." Hamilton pushed, burned his tires. Not for glory, for illusion. The overcut on Hadjar and Alonso had already done the job. There was no one else in reach. But when Ferrari shouted, "This is our race," it baited him into a trap, a pace surge with no prize. What followed wasn't just physical degradation. It was strategic hemorrhage. Hamilton later admitted, "I used up my tires a lot in that moment, but I was so far away from them anyway." The sentence reeks of regret, not for the Verstappen, but for trusting the order. Ferrari didn't correct the course, didn't say hold back. They let him waste grip, silently watching his pace peak, then fade. Right? Why? Because the data wasn't the objective. The drama was. In a weekend where Leclerc was delivering results, Hamilton's isolation fed a narrative. The outsider still adjusting, still chasing shadows. And the team? Quietly reinforcing where the spotlight belonged. The tires weren't just rubber, they were reputation. Sacrificed in a psychological skirmish where Hamilton was playing chess, but Ferrari was playing theater. Lewis Hamilton isn't just fast, he's methodical, analytical, surgical. He thrives on data, feedback, clarity. But in Monaco, what Ferrari gave him was something else entirely. Ambiguity, emotion, vague cues, a script with no explanation. This wasn't about racing lines, it was about cultural fault lines. Ferrari, since the Enzo era, has operated on unwritten codes. Loyalty isn't asked for, it's tested. Drivers are public faces, but also pawns in a larger internal game. And Hamilton? He comes from a system where information is a tool, not a weapon. At Mercedes, clarity ruled. In Maranello, interpretation does. That Monaco message, "This is our race," it wasn't a technical directive. It was emotional bait. And unlike Leclerc, who might have responded with blind passion, Hamilton challenged it. He asked, he probed, he demanded numbers. In return, silence. The result? A driver confused, a team comfortable in the confusion. This wasn't a miscommunication, it was an identity clash. Hamilton seeks transparency. Ferrari offers mystery. While Hamilton battled static and half answers, Charles Leclerc experienced something else entirely in Monaco. Clarity, precision, trust. No mysterious messages, no ambiguous deltas. Just one goal, bring it home. And he did, finishing second. Clean, controlled, unbothered. So why the difference? Because Leclerc wasn't just racing, he was being positioned, protected. While Hamilton was left in the fog of cryptic radio calls, Leclerc enjoyed a curated calm. Every message tailored, every strategy synced. It wasn't just experience, it was orchestration. Ferrari didn't just avoid confusing Leclerc, they made sure not to distract him. And that reveals something deeper, a hierarchy in progress. A driver being reinforced as the emotional center of the team. On home turf, in front of his crowd, with full narrative support. Hamilton, meanwhile, was the variable, the unknown, the outsider under test. In Monaco, Leclerc was allowed to be the symbol. Hamilton was forced to interpret. Monaco didn't expose a strategy flaw, it revealed a fracture. Beneath the glitz, behind the radio codes, one truth emerged. Ferrari isn't a united front. It's a house of symbols, and Lewis Hamilton just walked into its most sacred battleground. The phrase, "This is our race," will be remembered not for its intent, but for its impact. A command that revealed nothing, cost tire life, and signaled a deeper message. You are not yet one of us. Hamilton's confusion wasn't just tactical, it was existential. He asked where he stood and got silence. He pushed, hoping for clarity, and got distance. Meanwhile, Leclerc thrived, not by luck, but by design. What we witnessed in Monte Carlo wasn't miscommunication. It was coded messaging, subtle gatekeeping, An old guard institution flexing its traditions against a modern titan trying to write a new chapter. So now we ask, how many more unclear messages will it take before the truth is no longer deniable? Is Ferrari testing Hamilton or slowly isolating him? If you believe the real war in F1 isn't fought on Sundays, but in the whispers between the lines, then stay with us, because this story is just beginning.